Welcome to Divorcing Strong, the podcast that pulls no punches when it comes to divorce. I'm Becky Sampson, better known as Bulldog Becky Brockovich, and I'm here to give you the straight talk, the strategies, and the subpoena secrets you won't hear anywhere else. With expert guests and proven advice, you'll learn your rights, your options, and gain your power that encourages a fair and equitable outcome. Divorce doesn't have to break you. It can build you. Let's get to it. Well, welcome everyone to another episode of the Divorcing Strong podcast. I'm Becky Sampson, your host, as always. And this is kind of special. We're like the day before Thanksgiving. And like, who does this? Lisa and I were just, the guest and I were just talking about the fact, like, who does podcasts the day before Thanksgiving? Come on. And I even told her I have two that are scheduled for Christmas Eve. We're going to have to change those. But the good news is when we do these podcasts, it's for your service. It's for your knowledge and for your power so that you can come through your divorce strong, because that is an important thing. And as somebody reminded me the other day, I always say that I'm not for divorce. I am for divorce sometimes when it needs to happen. And unfortunately, it does happen. And when it does, and if that's you, you do not want to miss today's episode, because we're going to be talking about co-parenting and some of the practices that work and don't work, and what happens when you don't know what you don't know. And we really want to empower you with the most amount of knowledge possible so that you can navigate this strong. I guarantee you that's the case. Now, just speaking of strong too, I always want to remind you right here, it's always hard for me to, this is a free download for 100 divorce terms, whether you're just starting the process, whether you are in the thick of it. I guarantee you, if you download that 100 divorce terms and you understand, and anything you don't understand, go research about it, you're going to be in a much better position to understand what the lawyers, what divorce coaches, what the people in the legal system are talking about, so that you know what your legal right is. So go there as well, and make sure you like and subscribe if you like this. And many people who are watching know somebody who is going through a divorce. And that's probably the most frustrating thing sometimes, when you are helping a family member or friend and you just like, what do I do? Like, who do I refer them to? You know, like and subscribe to this and send them the episodes that you think that are going to be helpful for them. Every single one of the people that I bring on this podcast are experts, and they are people who have resources that can help you navigate, and at all different levels. And I believe everybody's called to different people. So I try to bring you as many as I can. So without further ado, let's get started. So today's guest is Lisser. She's the founder of LZL Coaching and a boutique practice focused on divorce support, mediation, guidance, and her signature BEH2O Co-Parenting Program, which is what we're going to talk about today. She's a former attorney turned educator, mediator, spiritual counselor, and certified CDC, DCA, not sure what that is, but divorce coach, and she'll tell us. So Lisa blends emotional insights, legal expertise, and soulful guidance into one powerful role. So known as the guide on the side, she helps clients navigate life's most pivotal transitions with clarity and compassion. Most importantly, strategy. As a divorced mom of 3 grown kids, she knows firsthand how the right support could have changed her own journey. And now she helps others avoid overwhelm, conflict, and unnecessary costs. Her innovative BEH2O program transforms reactive co-parenting into collaborative, business-like partnerships that prioritize safety, stability, and emotional security for the kids. That is so important. I'm telling you, and I always say too, I'm like, business, it's all business at this point, and you got to keep it that way. Families working with Lisa learn communication tools, emotional regulation skills, and practical systems, and align both parents and children with their deeper purpose. As she loves to say, co-parenting can actually be transformational and even fun. Man, I just want to welcome Lisa. She's also, wait, before I welcome her, I just need to let you know, she also has a Dishing on Divorce with Lisa Lisser streaming on YouTube, Roku, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and iHeartRadio. Today, she is recognized as one of the most compassionate and forward-thinking voices in modern divorce coaching, guiding families towards healing, clarity, and a family future built on purpose rather than pain. So with that, okay, sorry about that, Lisa. We're going to bring it to the show. Well, welcome and thank you so much for being willing to join me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Here we are, the day before Thanksgiving, where everyone is discombobulated. You know, we're all getting ready. We're all excited. Or maybe this is the hardest time for people going through divorce or people who are having those alternate holidays, right? Like we split up moments that used to be family time, and this is hard.
Yeah.
So
I have to admit that this morning when I was getting ready and having my breakfast, the thought came to me, you know, I've been single, even though I've been divorced twice and I'm now remarried to the love of my life, but I made a majority of my life single, and holidays have always been difficult for me. And, you know, not being able to have children and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Although we're going to be talking about children today, I thought about those who are going through divorce right now and how difficult sometimes we celebrate these beautiful times of getting together with family, but sometimes it's the most painful time. And so I want everyone to know we feel your pain, and the pain is temporary. So breathe through it. You can work through it. And if anything, you're going to listen to this and find some hope, because I'm all about hope.
So. Me too. All about hope. We want to be the beacon, so you have something to go toward.
Absolutely.
And that's what's powerful about being in the divorce support space.
So I always love to start my podcast off with, how did you get into this space, right? And I love that people's stories are usually because it's your story, it's your experience that then created the passion. So tell us where you came from, what makes you so passionate about what you're doing now.
So, you know, it's really interesting because I have had lots of stops on the journey to becoming a divorce coach. And when I say stops, it's just not stops, just different adventures. And you think when you start your life plan that you are on a track, right? This is going to go this way. I wrote a timeline of my life when I was in first grade, and most of those things happened. But lots of other things happened too that I didn't anticipate. And I started my career as an attorney, a big firm commercial litigator. I retired from the practice of law when I had my first child, and I stayed at home with my 3 kids. And during that time, I got deeply involved in nonprofit work and philanthropy and community building, program design, allocations, all of those things that like gave my life meaning. I felt like I was doing really important work and helped me start building those leadership skills that are essential for all of us. I was a public speaker. I traveled internationally. It was all amazing until it wasn't aligning with what was going on in my marriage, because my marriage was not comfortable with that. And I started the process of divorce. And this was after 21 and a half years of marriage and 3 kids. And it was hard.
How old were your kids at the time?
My kids were 11, 14, and 16. And so, you know, on the one hand, they can understand, but their lives are being thrown up in the air. And it was really challenging. It was really challenging. And we negotiated the whole 50-50, even though he had been traveling a lot. He decided to stop traveling. And the kids got their dad, which was great, but
Yeah.
it was really territorial. We didn't speak nicely to each other. There was a lot of challenge in that. And I didn't know where to turn to find tools to help me co-parent. In fact,
Mhm.
back then, co-parenting wasn't even part of the vocabulary. It was just like what happened at my house, what happened at his house. And it was spaced out. The kids did
Mhm.
not want to cross that space. And that was challenging. And each of my kids responded in a different way. Um, they're grown-ups now. They're all in their 20s, and I have different relationships with each of them. But I look back and I realize I could have done it differently.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I know everybody can look back on things retrospectively and see things differently. What do you feel like you didn't see back then that you wish you did see?
Well, I didn't see that I was entitled to have a voice about some things that happened at
Mm.
my co-parents' house.
Mhm.
So what that means is, it was very typical. He was Disney dad, and so they had all parties at his house.
Mm.
But what I realized was that I could have put some boundaries there because, um, there were activities going on that weren't allowed at my house, and they knew that.
Okay,
So
so I've never actually heard this concept that you have if you are now this is after the divorce or during the divorce.
after the divorce,
Okay,
after
so after the divorce, you could have a voice of what your kids are able to do or not do with the other spouse.
so
Talk a little bit more about that.
right. So here's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have a veto power, but
Mhm.
what I am saying is, and what our BEH2O method gives us is a shared commitment to the kids. And so you set up a plan beforehand for what's consistent at both homes. Now,
Mm.
things aren't like you do have to give up the keys when your children go to the other house
Mhm.
so that, I'm not governing every minute of that time. But there can be overarching values that are consistent over both homes so that, if there's partying or if there's drugs or if there's, other behaviors that you might not approve of, it it can go both ways. And that's if you find communication tools in advance that set yourself up for success. So it's not like I'm saying you can't. What I'm saying is we agree.
So
You know,
you're saying so explain to people what your BH2O program is and
okay.
and from what I'm gathering from you is that you set it up before the divorce, right?
Okay, so let me
Okay.
explain. Okay, so BEH2O, it's BE because BE is the symbol for the metal beryllium, which is a
Mm,
strong but flexible metal, and
mm.
H2O is water, which is adaptable, and it can make deep grooves and change things through its adaptability. So when you blend adaptability and flexibility, you get the greatest strength for your children and your
Oh, I
family.
love that.
And this is a method that was created for co-parents who were out of the marriage a long time and
Mm,
were really struggling to get on the same page, and not on the same page because they had to agree with everything, but on the same page where they could release some of the conflict for the benefit of their kids. So and that doesn't mean silencing yourself, or it doesn't have to mean silencing yourself. And I
right.
think that's what I did, is that I didn't want the conflict, so I just kept my mouth shut. And had we had the structure to develop a plan while we were going through it, we could have learned to hear each other differently and communicate differently. And so that's what BEH2O does. It helps you. So you have a question. So share your
Yeah, I
question.
was gonna say, so the B is that something, I mean, the thought that's coming to my mind right now is like, is that something that just you and your spouse do, or do you sit down with your kids and use it as an ability for all of you to come up with an agreement so that the kids are involved with that as well?
So, it's an interesting question. So the program is actually a 16-week training for the parents where you're actually doing business development for your co-parenting model. That's
Mm.
what the 4 months are for. In the process, the children can come in twice. The first time to share their perspective, what it's like in their shoes.
Mm.
And the second, to receive the commitment that the parents create on their behalf, which lets them know that their parents have been working for them on behalf of them to reduce conflict so that the children, feel more at peace. And that is something that really keeps the program and the accountability intact.
So what do you do if there's a parent that is not willing to do that, or maybe even a child that's not willing?
So what you do, we can do this program with one parent
Mhm.
because what science shows us and real on the ground data shows us is that it just takes one parent to shift the whole dynamic.
Mhm.
So if you are engaged in this reactive head-to-head battle over every issue, that is the conflict is what is going to be difficult for the kids. Divorce is not the measure of challenge for the kids. It's conflict that's a measure of challenge. So when one parent is committed to reducing conflict, that can make change. And what we do in BEH2O is we teach new methods of communication. And when you shift the way you communicate, which can just mean shifting how you respond to
Right.
communications, that changes the whole ecosystem so that everybody shifts.
What do you think is the most challenging thing when it comes to working with somebody that is quite reactive, and how to get them aligned with this concept of like, look, it's not reaction, it's acting, not reacting.
Right.
That's going to give you the power.
So this is where we start with the pause. Like we help our community recognize when they're starting to feel triggered. Like, what
Mm.
does it mean to feel triggered? And we also share the knowledge that triggering is a biological response. We are programmed, the amygdala part of our brain is programmed toward fight, flight, freeze, or fawn whenever we feel threatened. And when we're in these reactive relationships, we're always threatened. We always feel
Mm.
threatened. And so just noticing how our body shifts when we're starting to feel threatened gives us the opportunity to pause. So
Mm.
we help people begin to build the pause into their communication. And that may seem like obvious, but sometimes the most obvious thing is the hardest thing to do.
No, you know what, Lisa, this is the funniest thing is that my mom's a poetry writer, but when I was getting my degree a few years ago in conflict resolution, mediation, and peace building, I took this peace building class and they had us write a poem, and it was called I called it The Power of the Pause,
Yeah.
because your power really does come in that moment where you're just like, okay, I'm going to pause. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to go write. I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to do whatever I need to so that I can come at it strong in that communication. And I need to remind myself of this now. I was just thinking, I'm like, this is for me right now with some situations. And it's with anything in life, right? Those triggers are there to teach us, but we won't understand them and be able to release them unless we pause, because
Right.
we'll end up creating a lot of disaster. So I appreciate you saying that. Is the power of the pause is truly a powerful way to even shift the other person as well.
Yeah, it is, because if they're expecting you to counterattack and you don't, that changes the dynamic.
Yep.
So what we do, one of the tools we use to help people with the pause is we teach them nonviolent communication, which is I think it's Marshall Goldberg maybe wrote the book Nonviolent Communication,
Mhm.
and what it's about, or Marshall Rosenberg, I think is the name. What it's about is crafting an I feel statement. Now,
Mm.
This statement is something that initially we're practicing to craft for ourselves, because you can't craft an I feel statement when you're all worked up.
Yeah.
So,
Because
so
it's all about blame, right? You're wanting to blame and throw the
right,
darts that way, where it's like people can't argue with how you feel. That's
right,
your
right. But
experience.
so what we do is we help our clients start to identify what they're feeling and to notice, I'm feeling something. What am I feeling? And we go through, we have cards that have feelings on them. So you could start to identify, what is the feeling I'm experiencing right now? And what happened that caused that feeling?
Mhm.
So you might normally have, when you did X, Y, and Z, or when blah, 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 and we're all full of accusation. What we help the clients do, or the parents do, is stick to the actual thing that happened.
Mhm.
So I feel X when our children aren't picked up on time. Okay. Or instead of saying you're always late,
Mhm.
you recraft it. When Susie is waiting alone. Okay. Why? Because I'm worried that she will be scared. I
Mhm.
want her to be safe. What is the value? So it's a 3-part exercise. And in the beginning, I just want you to sit with, what are you feeling? And a lot of times it's anger is the word that comes out, but anger is a cover emotion for
Right.
other deeper things. So then I ask more questions. But we go through the process of working on these I feel statements, which encourages pausing, right?
Well, it's getting conscious, right? I mean, it's taking something that sometimes we work. I'm going to speak for myself, that sometimes I work in that like reactive mode and I'm not conscious of what. So this is an exercise in order to get conscious and being like, okay, this is how I feel and what's happening around me that's causing that feeling.
Exactly.
Facts, right?
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
creating some story around it. Yeah,
Right.
that's
It's about the facts, and it's also about your values.
mhm.
Feelings and needs. And needs occur when your core values are being attacked and
Mhm.
so, or threatened. So one of the very first things we do is a values exercise, where we talk to our clients about, what are your core values?
Mm.
How do you want to show up? What are the values you want to instill in your child and model for them? So if you value peace in the family, but you're constantly tied up in conflict, you're actually sabotaging the values that you want to instill in your child.
And you're
And
not congruent. You're
you're
not
not
congruent. Yeah.
right. And it's not intentional. It's
Yeah.
not your fault, because we don't know another way until we learn another way.
Mhm.
So here we help people remember what their values are. Is it peace? Is it safety and security for my child? Is it consistency? Is it honesty or reliability? And
Mhm.
so if those become the values that we want to embody for our children, then we are going to do things that fulfill those values. So if it's reliability, but your co-parent never is on time, does that mean, oh, you're not going to be on time the next time you have to do something? Or does that mean it doesn't matter how they behave? I want to be reliable for my children. I will always be on time.
Well, and that's the thing is we're creating a pattern of trust and consistency with the kids as well. And sometimes when you're dealing with high conflict, kids are on their own journey to figure out what's true.
Yeah.
Right. And they'll see your actions. I always say when I'm coaching people, keep your side of the road clean. Make
Yeah.
sure that you're doing the right thing for the right reason, because the kids watch. They watch very carefully to what you do and what you say.
And that also impacts the kids on how they communicate with you.
Exactly.
So if they see that you're really triggered by something your ex has done, they will report perhaps inaccurately about
Mhm.
things that happen at the other home, so that what you start to hear is a version of life that your children think you want to hear, but not necessarily an accurate reflection. So again, now we are involving our kids because we want to believe everything our kids say.
Right.
And our kids aren't intentionally being unreliable, but they want to make us happy. So they want to not trigger us. So they're going to tell us what they think we want to hear that reinforces the narrative they think we believe in. So that's where we have to start hearing things with a grain of salt and sharing only what our kids need to see to infuse them with the values we want to instill.
So do you ever find, I mean, that people that you're working with feel overwhelmed with this process?
Of course,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm working with a couple now and it's the beginning
Yeah.
and they're, getting triggered all over the place. And
Mhm.
what I have to remind them is, of course, you're getting triggered. This is hard work.
Mhm.
You never paused before. And you're not used to not, you know, subtly blaming each other for something or
Right.
subtly accusing each other. They're not using accusatory words, but the language has a tone. So what we do is we take pauses. And this is the begin, and it's a practice, right? This is not about perfection, it's about learning. So
I love that. Let me just say that is that, sorry to interrupt you there. I always say to people too is that it's not about perfection. You don't have to be perfect to be successful. You just have to be willing to do the work and get in there and really look inside, because we truly cannot change anybody else.
right, right.
And so if we really can't change somebody else, then the work and the power and the influence really lies within ourselves to be
100%.
able to help our children and to help the other person. And regardless of whether or not they choose to look within themselves or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why this work it is effective even when only one parent
Yeah.
is doing the work. And many of my clients are individuals, not couples. Um, it's hard either way because we make a lot of assumptions about what our co-parents are thinking. And we say, well, we know because it's always been this way. A lot of that also comes out in the BEH2O methodology, that always and never are going to get removed from our vocabulary because we can't extrapolate something that happened in the past into the future or into the present. So we have a method of communicating that we call clear communication. So it's an acronym for concise, listener ready, effective, essential. Sorry, E is essential, A is appropriate, and R is relevant. So
Mhm.
they're a little repetitive, but the concise is important. That's like, don't talk more than you need to talk. Share only what you really need to share. And when we say listener ready, we're really thinking about how we want this to land. And is calling during dinner the right time to share information that may be reactive? So we help people plan out the timing of their communications.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think that, or do you do most of your work one-on-one, or do you do group stuff? Like groups?
We do groups. We
Okay.
definitely do groups. But even like we do couples work, both parents are in a session. And the original design and what I'm building up in my own practice is to have groups that are doing the workshop together,
Mm.
groups of co-parents who are building a community. So they recognize they're not the only ones going through similar struggles.
That is very, very important. As I'm about to start my little community as well for people going through divorce. It's like, it's connection is so vitally important in order for you to know that you're not alone. And
Yeah,
you may have a little different circumstances, or he says this, but in the body, at the very base of that connects all of us is the pain and the struggle and the work, which is really going back within ourselves to say, hey, what can I do? What's within my power and my influence to change the things that I'm experiencing? And I love that I can already tell, Lisa, I mean, you're somebody that is a very grounded individual that helps just kind of give that peace that people need in a very chaotic space.
Yeah.
So
it's we all know that co-parenting can feel really chaotic, and it can be chaotic.
Survival.
Yeah. I was just talking to a client whose soon to be ex went into the medical forms and changed the primary parent of information. And this started going back and forth. They were each changing it over and over again. And it's like, let's pause.
Yeah.
Let's find a solution that can serve both parties.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to be attacking and threatening and reactive. We come from a space where there's a lot of danger that our co-parents are feeling. And it's hard to reduce that fear. So that's where we stay grounded in our values. We acknowledge our feelings and we share why we're feeling that way. And that, whether the communication gets through the first time or the 17th time or the 34th time, it's about the practice. And every time you feel like you had a fail, you're developing data, you're doing road testing. And many times I suggest, the scenarios that are triggering. So write down what that scenario is and write an I feel statement. And then the client and I will work on the I feel statement until it can be reflecting a communication pattern that is not going to be reactive. And that's the practice.
Yeah, I definitely, and it doesn't have to be hard. Some people say, well, the work, what is the work? You know what I mean? The work.
Yeah.
And the work can be very rewarding because it gives you a lot of freedom, and it gives you a voice, and it gives you validation for what you feel. And, I did a show the other day that someone called me afterwards and was just kind of like, hey, Becky, just get over it. You know what I mean? Or people that just going through this just need to get over it. And I say, it's hard. It's hard to say that to somebody that's in the thick of it because they're just in survival. And I say, yes, stay in the process, stay in the boat, because there is relief if you can just stay strong, and you will come out stronger in the end.
Yeah.
And
you don't quit being a parent.
No.
Right? When you're struggling with your co-parent and you just want to throw in the towel, that's when you think about your kids and you remember, we're in this together as a business. I am no longer in a marriage relationship with that partner, but I'm in the business of raising kids with them. Mm-hmm. So if I were running a different kind of business, I wouldn't be constantly throwing wrenches into the process. So why might I do that now? And it's because of the emotions and the history. So let's put that on a shelf and focus on the new business you're in, which is the co-parenting.
Which you can start at any moment, right?
Yeah.
If it hasn't been working for a long time, you can create a whole new story and a whole new experience. And I love that you make it into like a business, because that helps you detach from the emotional, the emotions and the stories that you've created in the past. So I always say detached observation, just you're observing how they respond. You're observing how you respond to this, and now make certain choices that can be a healthier choice moving forward.
Right. One of the things that can be fun in this process is when you're writing an I feel statement, you can write that first draft as angry, as mean, as accusatory as you want, and get it out.
Yeah.
And then look at it and decide, what do I really need to communicate that's actually going to get me what I want? Because think about it, when you share your anger, you don't get what you want in return.
Right.
So let's expose the anger, play around with it, be mean, curse, do whatever, and then reflect on it. So what I need in this moment is X. And then you can reframe it in a way that is calmer and can get you the thing you're after. And that's peace in the family.
I know. And I love that you do this work because it's so needed. People, we're getting in a world that is just very combative.
Mhm.
And so it was interesting when I was studying peace building and how every word that comes out of our mouth, every emotion that we feel, every interaction, how we show up and how our being, and that's why I love that yours is BE, right? H2O. Your being can really, really affect the results of what you get. And you really have that much power to shift that, and that you teach people how to do that. I really appreciate that. And I wanted to just ask you, I always ask people, well, first of all, I just want to put on the screen that you can call Lisser or go to her website and get a free consultation, and tell everybody kind of how that works, the free evaluation works.
So on my website, it says, see Lisser or book now. It's a 30-minute consult. We talk about your situation, what inspired you to call, and how coaching can help you through. And when it's about the kids, we talk about the tools that BEH2O offers and how we can make the program work for you.
Awesome. Well, make sure you reach out to her. Here's my last question to you, Lisser. And by the way, thank you so much for taking the time out before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Because this is just really, really important. And this is great information for those who are listening to it today before Thanksgiving, because you might get triggered tomorrow for whatever reason. So the power of the pause. And you just made me realize I probably need to put my poem up on my website, because it really is powerful that and you can have fun doing it. I always say, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. So have fun and make it a game with yourself in this pausing before you react. But I'd love to finish my podcasts now with this question: is what does divorcing strong mean to you?
Divorcing strong means that you know your values, and you give yourself permission to get the support you need. And then it means that you have patience, because this is a practice. And it's about reframing how you see your life now and into the future, because this is a moment, and this moment will pass. And what you have in front of you is so much bigger and so much greater than what you're leaving behind. So that's what divorcing strong means to me.
Oh, I love that. And I say that all the time. This too shall pass, and it's a temporary pain, whatever you're going through. And make sure that you, just like you said, make sure you get the people around you that really can give you the support. And we're not just saying that because this is our profession. Really, I could not have made it through the disaster of a 3.5-year divorce in the court system if I didn't have the people around me. Could I have had more resources? Absolutely. I didn't know at the time that they existed. So this is really the purpose of this podcast, is to help introduce you to people that are out there that are really fighting that fight for you and helping you advocate for you and your children. And Lisser, you are a gem. I really do appreciate what you do and your passion and just the energy and the peacefulness that you're bringing to this space.
Thank you. Thank you. My goal is to pull some of the drama out. recognize that life doesn't have to be as drama-filled as it is at this moment. And you start to learn ways to regulate. And that's the breath, power of the pause. Take a breath and just remember to do that. So it helps. It helps.
Well, thank you so much for being you, BEH2O. So make sure you check that out. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today on another episode of Divorcing Strong. I've been your host, Becky Sampson, with Lisser. We'll talk to you soon and have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for listening to the Divorcing Strong podcast. This episode is sponsored by Only Subpoenas, where we make subpoenas simple, powerful, and 100% compliant. If you're having a hard time getting the information you need to settle for a fair and equitable divorce, let us help you. Whether you're an attorney or you're navigating divorce on your own, subpoenas can uncover the truth, secure the evidence you need, and level the playing field. To see how we can help, book an appointment by visiting our website at onlysubpoenas.com.